I come from a family where my younger brother has always been prioritized over me. And honestly, as I grew up, I got used to it. I couldn't exactly cut my parents off altogether because I knew that then they would start manipulating me and emotionally guilt tripping me. So I continued to stay in touch with them after I grew up, but I just kept my distance from them because I did not want to get too close. And I think in my childhood, I have been hurt again and again for expecting them to prioritize me over my brother at some point. So I never had any expectations in recent times from them. I'm 34 now, my brother is 30 years old, and in the past couple of years, he has done a lot of things. He has experimented a lot with careers, but he hasn't been able to make anything stick. He even started a few businesses, but then they didn't really do well, so he had to sell them and leave them. Both of us have graduated from business schools, but the difference is that I actually did well, whereas he just opted for it because my parents believed that a business would suit him, since they think that he actually has a business acumen. I don't know for what reason. If they had actually bothered to pay attention, then they would have known that it was actually me who had business acumen and not him. And they would have tried to fund me, but like I said, they don't really care about me that much. Anyway, he had been unemployed for 6 months, and because he couldn't pay rent, he had decided to move back in with our parents. Then recently, I ran into my family at one of my cousin's engagement parties, and there they basically cornered me at one point and started telling me what was going on with my brother. I told him I felt bad, but at the end of the day, I couldn't really help him out here. The most that I could do was extend my sympathy, but nothing else. But my parents were not satisfied with that answer, and they said that because I had been able to climb the corporate ladder and was doing well for myself, they expected me to try and help my brother up as well by giving him a hand. They started telling me that he had a lot of potential. He was just waiting for a nudge in the right direction. And as his older brother, it was my moral duty and obligation to be the one helping him, instead of just avoiding and ignoring my family. I did not know how to talk my way out of it, so I ended up promising my parents that I would look into it. And I thought that I would just say that and get out of the situation, but then later on, they kept following up on it. So I just left with no other option but to actually do something about the situation. And so I spoke to one of my friends who had just started up her own company, and she was looking for a COO to help her out. I recommended my brother and I explained the thing to my brother as well. She interviewed him, and soon enough, he was hired. So, yeah, I did recommend him, and I think he must have done well in his interview because he's not completely stupid. He just struggles with sticking to one thing, and he's just very volatile, which is not good for a business environment. But anyway, he did get hired, and within a week, he was fired. And for those of you wondering what the reason for him getting fired might be, it's the stupidest thing in the world. Within a week of getting hired by my friend, he decided to try his luck with her and started hitting on her, even though she had made it very clear through her behavior that she was not interested and she expected him to be professional because they were working together in a professional capacity and their workplace was no place for him to be trying to pick up women. He tried to speak to her and sweet talk her on the first date itself, asking her out on a date. She made it very clear that she was not here to look for a relationship. She was already in a very committed, serious relationship. And even if she hadn't been, she was not going to date a coworker that she had just hired. She had been polite with him in the first instance, and she had brushed it off, thinking that it wasn't that bad since he had been sweet about it in the beginning. But then he continued to compliment her weirdly, making googly eyes at her and just being generally weird. She ignored it, thinking that maybe it was in her own head. But then the last straw was when he asked her out on a date again, saying that he couldn't stop thinking about her and that she was truly one of the most special women he had ever met. That was it for her. She told him that he was fired and she couldn't work with somebody like this who couldn't take no for an answer. So that's the real story of how he got fired. But what my brother told my parents and myself was something entirely different. He said that she just fired him because she was too uptight and claimed that he had just been asking a bunch of questions about his work because he was new to the company and he really wanted to understand his job very well. So in order to be thorough, he asked a lot of questions and she claimed that he was hitting on her by trying to talk to her all the time, and that's why he got fired, because she was too full of herself. So naturally, when he told me that, it seemed like that was way out of character for my friend because I have known her for a long time and she's not the kind of person who would do something like that. So I spoke to my friend and she told me the truth, and now obviously I do not have any sympathy for my brother because how could I? I got him a job and he totally screwed it up for himself, and now he's on his own. My parents obviously tried to tell me to speak to my friend and apologize to him and hire him back again, but I said no, because there's no way that I'm doing that. And the problem now is that they had invited a bunch of people over this weekend for dinner to celebrate the fact that my brother finally had a job, but now they are either going to have to lie or they're going to have to find him another job. Personally, I don't really care what they do. They can either lie to all their guests and pretend that my brother actually has a job and he didn't just lose it within a week, or they can tell the truth and explain why my brother doesn't have a job anymore. But whatever they do, I don't want any part of it. I'm not even interested in any of this, and I wish they understood that. But they really don't. They keep begging me to speak to my friend and make her give my brother another chance, but I'm not willing to do that. Because after what he did, I don't think it would be appropriate. And I like my friend. I don't want to lose her. I don't want to push it with her either. Besides, I don't think that what my brother did was worth asking for a second chance because he knew exactly what he was doing. He's 30. He's not a child. So if he screwed it up for himself, then that's his own problem. I am not going to interfere. He made his bed. Now he has to lie in it because I helped him already, and I'm done now. My parents can't blame me for this. I just wanted to make sure that it's the right thing to do, right? AITA for not wanting to help my brother get his job back after he got fired for trying to flirt with my friend who is his boss. Edit. Hey, so a lot of you have been repeatedly asking me why I've even bothered to keep in touch with my parents and my brother for so long, when it is so evident that they don't treat me well and are always trying to use me to that advantage. Well, I don't really have a good explanation for it. I guess I'm just used to having my family around, and I know this is going to sound very sad, but no matter how they treated me, I did not want to completely cut them off. I definitely distanced myself, and I tried to show them that I was not going to dance to their tunes all the time. But the truth is that I found it very hard to cut them off entirely, and that's that. I'm working on it, so I'm trying to accept that no matter how hard I try, it's not going to make them treat me any better, and they are always going to be like this. Once I accept that, I think things will get much easier for me, but for now, I'm still trying, and I can't help but feel disappointed with everything that's happening, because I just envisioned a different thing, and I feel like my brother has ruined everything yet again. But anyway, all of that is arbitrary. The bottom line is that my parents have never put me first. They have never thought about me the way they think about my brother, and that, unfortunately, is not something I can blame on my brother because that's just on my parents all the way. Update 1. Hey, so they cancelled the party and they did not even provide a reason for it. And I know that because a bunch of my relatives texted me to ask me what was going on, since my parents were not responding to any emails or messages. People had even tried to call them to ask for an explanation, and even if not an explanation, just to ask if they were doing all right, because it was obviously not normal for them to cancel a party just out of the blue. So anyway, then they did not get a response out of my parents. They decided to contact me, and I had to tell them that I did not know why they had cancelled the party, unfortunately. And I could find out and get back to them later, but that would take me some time because clearly we had some things to sort out. However, that was just something that I told my extended family so that I could buy myself some time, and also to cover up the fact that my family and I don't really speak to each other, and we haven't been for the past couple of days. It would be weird and embarrassing for all of us involved to let the rest of the family find out that we're not getting along, and that's affecting everything else as well. But anyway, that's just what I did. I don't think my parents would have done the same thing in my place. I'm pretty sure that they would have used this situation to talk badly of me, but I'm not them. So I'm not doing that. And as for whatever happened with my brother, that's his story to tell. I'm not going to use this to badmouth him either, because like I said, not my thing. Update 2. Okay, so it's been 1 week since my previous update, and a couple of hours ago, my mother visited me, which was a bit surprising because, like I said, we have not been on speaking terms. But anyway, when she came by, I decided to let her in because I was not going to be rude to her and tell her to leave or anything. However, before I even let her in, I had already made up my mind that if she wanted an apology out of me or anything of that sort, I was going to make it clear that that was something they were not going to get. Because ultimately, the fact of the matter is, I have not done anything wrong. And if she believed that I had, then it was her problem, not mine. I already knew exactly what I was going to say to her. I was just waiting for her to start something, but to my surprise, in the beginning, she started off by telling me that she had tried to convince my father to come along, but he had refused. But she herself had chosen to come to me and apologize for everything. When she said she wanted to apologize for everything, I thought she meant everything that happened in the past as well, because it's pretty obvious they have always treated my brother better than me. It's not a recent development. I didn't need to ask about her, though. She clarified it on her own by everything. She just meant whatever had happened recently, so that was a bit of a letdown. But anyway, that was the first time one of my parents was acknowledging that they had not been fair to me. So that was still quite new. I let her go on, and then she told me she had been thinking about it for a while, and ultimately she had to acknowledge the fact that I couldn't have done anything to prevent what had happened. They had asked me to get my brother a job. I had helped him get one. I had stayed true to my word. But after that, it was not my duty to look out for him because he was an adult man. He could handle himself, or at least he should have known how to handle himself and conduct himself in a place of business. I was surprised that my mother was saying something like this about my brother because really, they would never even think things like this about him. It was obvious that something must have happened to make her feel like this because usually my parents like to pretend that my brother is a perfect angel. But anyway, I let her go on. I didn't interrupt her because I was really curious to know what had happened to make her feel like this and come to me to talk to me. And as she went on talking about how she had been unfair to me and how she had tried to convince my father the same thing and tried to get him to come along with her today, but failed because he did not believe that I was being loyal to my family, I realized that she was actually waiting for me to ask, and I had the choice. I had the choice to either ask about what's going on with my brother and what had made her feel like this all of a sudden, or I could simply choose not to know. And this might come as a surprise or a bit of a letdown to everybody reading it, but I chose not to move because honestly, what would I do? At the end of the day, I'm still going to be the second choice in their lives. I'm not going to fool myself anymore, believing that at some point in time my parents might change. Even right now, the fact that I'm talking about my mother coming to visit me, that's only because my brother must have let her down. So, I'm still the second choice here. I'm never going to be the first priority for them. And I think at my age, I should learn to accept that instead of falsely misleading myself and giving myself hope for no reason. I don't need to put myself through all of that pain and hurt. So she kept dropping hints that she would tell me everything that was bothering her if only I asked. But I chose not to ask, and I only focused on listening to her politely, and towards the end she literally just asked me straight up if I was not even going to bother asking about my brother and what had happened to make her come to this realization. It was clear that she was very confused why I had not asked her to explain the situation, and then I told her everything that I said earlier. I said that I didn't want to know because at the end of the day, my brother was still their first choice and first priority. And even when she had come by, she hadn't bothered to ask me even once how I was doing, how the past couple of days had been for me. So clearly, she couldn't care less about me. And if she doesn't care about me, then there's no reason for me to pretend that asking about my brother and trying to make things worse for them is going to make anything better for me. She seemed a bit surprised and humbled, and eventually she decided to leave without another word, not even a goodbye. It was weird. But I also felt kind of relieved, and I'm glad I got to talk to her and let her know exactly how much they had let me know. Now I feel very light, and I feel like I said whatever I had to say, and I can stop thinking about this now. Update 3. So it's been a month since my previous update, and I haven't had any interaction with my family in that month. I've been doing well for myself, though. I have only managed to take my mind off of things with my family because, as it is, I do have a lot of things going on in my life. I cannot afford to constantly sit and feel bad about things that I do not have any control over. I think I've done enough for them. I've done enough to be there for them. I cannot do any more, and I shouldn't have to go out of my way for my family constantly, especially when they have never done that for me. So why should I extend that courtesy to them? Anyway, all that aside, I've been seeing a woman. It's been going pretty well. We've decided that we might move in together in a couple of months if things go well until then. So that's a pretty big thing because I've never had anybody move in with me before. Things have never been that serious, and I'm pretty excited for it. And things at my work are also going pretty well, so I was very happy about that. Basically, things are going too well for me, so naturally, something had to happen to wreck it. About an hour ago, I received an email from my brother telling me that he had decided that he was going to start a business yet again. And this time, he wanted to do it right. So he wanted my advice. I'm a financial consultant by profession, and he wanted me to help him out here. And he said he was very thankful that I had helped him out before, and he just needed one last favor. Truth be told, he did not need a financial consultant or any professional to give him the advice that he really needed to hear, that he was not cut out to start a business just yet. First, he needed to learn the ropes and work under somebody's guidance, pay his dues, understand how a business works, and get some first-hand experience instead of just diving into it head first and going into losses again. That was the advice that he actually needed to hear. And anybody could tell him that, with the exception of our parents, of course, because they always wanted to be his yes men and encourage him to do whatever he wanted, even if that was not good for him. I did not reply to that email because honestly, I didn't know what to say to it. So I just stayed silent, and of course that did not sit right with my parents because they expected me to help him, no matter what I personally believed. So a few minutes back I received an angry email from my dad telling me that my brother had sent me something, and that the least I could do was at least reply to him, even if it was to tell him that I would not be helping him out. And honestly, that was the limit for me, because let's be real, there's only so much BS that one person can take. And I have reached that saturation point because my parents, my dad especially, cannot think that he gets to push me around whenever he wants to. And I'm just going to take it lying down. So instead of writing back an email, I decided to call my father, and I really tore into him. I told him that he cannot speak to me like this. I'm a grown man. I have my own life. I've not been in touch with him for a while, and I don't bother him, so he doesn't get to push me around. He's not done anything for me that other fathers haven't, so he doesn't own me. He's never gone out of the way for me. So this expectation that I should constantly go out of the way for my family is ridiculous. In fact, let alone going out of the way, they've not even done the bare minimum for me. He kept trying to interrupt me throughout the time I was speaking, but I was not having it. I told him that I did not want to hear from him, and I did not want him bothering me because I was finally happy with my life. And just because he and my brother were not, doesn't mean that they get to take it out on me. I don't want anything to do with them, and I made it very clear. They have never treated me as a priority, so now they cannot be mad that I don't think that they are a priority for me. In the end, I literally just told my father that he had let me down more than anybody else in my life. And he should probably just introspect about what really went wrong, because in his life, he might have accomplished certain things. But he has never been a good father, not to me, and definitely not to my brother, because look at the state he's in today. If he had had a normal childhood, then who knows? Even he might have been able to make something of himself and wouldn't have been struggling even in his 30s. Then I hung up before he had the chance to say anything else. Then I blocked the number, and I blocked all of them everywhere because I don't want anything to do with them anymore. I'm just done with this BS. I don't need this kind of crap in my life, and I'm just done. Update 4. So it's been a week since my previous update, and a week since I blocked my family on everything. To be very honest, for me, it was all quite peaceful because I had put them out of my mind anyway. But then today, my mother visited again, and this time I chose not to let her in. I opened the door, but I did not invite her inside, and I did not even initiate any conversation. However, she had the decency to actually look ashamed. And she told me that she was not here to have some long drawn conversation with me. And she was not here to convince me that I was wrong. She was only here to tell me that she knew that they had messed up. And even though my father and my brother did not acknowledge it, she did. She told me the last time she had come here, she had had a huge fight with my brother because she had tried to tell him that what he had done to get fired was really immature and stupid on his part, and that's why she had been so let down. But I had put her in her place by reminding her that the only reason she had was because my brother annoyed her. So even now her priority was my brother, not me. And she wanted to defend herself back then. But while going back home, she realized that she had nothing to say because she had herself to be a good mom to me, and she had failed. So that's why she had not contacted me after that. And she didn't want to bother me even now, but she felt like she wanted to apologize and said that she had tried to defend me to my brother and father a couple of days back, but they had ganged up against her, and basically both of them were convinced that they were flawless and I was at fault, whereas she was the only one who was trying to defend me, and she didn't expect me to be grateful for anything, but she just wanted me to know that she was sorry for everything that she had done and not done. She was about to leave, but then I had a change of heart and I tried to invite her in. She told me that she wanted to leave and let it go for now because she wanted me to have some time to think things over before I made any decision, regarding her at least. She said she was aware that she had also let me down on many counts, but she was willing to fix it if that's what I wanted, and she wanted me to think about it properly and let her know later, and she did not want to make me feel guilty or pressured right away. So that was pretty nice of her. And then she left, and I don't know what I'll do, but for now, I'm just happy that at least my mother had the decency and the common sense to come to me and try to make things right. I'm happy for us. Update 5. Hi, so it's been 6 months since my previous update, and a couple of weeks ago my girlfriend and I finally decided to move in together. I think I had spoken about that in my previous post, and things had been going pretty well with us. So we decided it was time to make the next move. So she moved in with me in my house, and because it was a big step, we decided to have a small dinner party. I have already met her parents, so they were invited, and we invited a couple of our friends over as well, and I decided to invite my mother. She's the only person I've been somewhat in touch with from my family in the last couple of months. She's the only person who has regularly tried to contact me, ask me how I'm doing. And it's not like we speak every day, but we try to speak at least once a week, and sometimes things are awkward. But I can tell that she is genuinely trying to fix things, and I appreciate that. So why should I back off? As an olive branch, I decided to invite her, but only her, and she agreed. I thought that she was going to push for me to invite my father and brother as well, but she didn't say anything. She came on her own, and she had a good time, and then she left, and the next time she texted me to tell me that she was very happy that she had been given a chance by me, and she was going to prove that it was worth it. So that's pretty nice of her. I'm genuinely happy. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.